the 2nd of November, 1944. The sky over Germany is already lost. High above, a solid wall of American bombers cuts through the clouds. B-17, flying fortresses, mile after mile of aluminum and engines, escorted by fighters that now own the air. Below them, fuel plants wait to be erased. There is no mystery about what's coming, only how much will survive. On the runway at Brandis Airfield, Lieutenant Günther Andreas doesn't have the luxury of strategy or planning. He has seconds. He straps himself into an aircraft that barely qualifies as an airplane, the Me-163 Komet. No propeller, no glide path, no margin for error. Just a rocket engine bolted to a cockpit, fueled by chemicals so unstable they've already killed pilots on the ground. The throttle goes forward. The Komet explodes down the runway and then pitches almost straight up. Andreas is slammed into his seat as the airspeed needle tears past 400 miles per hour. The ground disappears. The horizon collapses. In less than a minute, he's higher than most fighters can ever climb, burning fuel at a rate that turns time into an enemy. Then the engine eases back. The roar fades. Silence rushes in. Andreas levels off and looks ahead. The sky is full. Not dozens, not hundreds, nearly 2,000 enemy aircraft stretch from horizon to horizon, flying in perfect formation toward their target. Bombers, escorts, an entire industrial war machine in motion. In that moment, Andreas understands the truth. He is the fastest thing in the sky, and he is already running out of time. The climb doesn't feel like flight. It feels like punishment. The Me-163 keeps clawing upward, nose high, as if trying to leave the planet behind. Gravity crushes Andreas into the seat, his vision narrowing, his chest fighting for air. The airspeed needle keeps climbing, past anything he's ever seen in a cockpit, while the fuel gauge bleeds downward at a pace that makes his stomach tighten. Every second of power buys altitude, and steals time he will never get back. At nearly 40,000 feet, the engine finally eases to idle. The violence stops all at once, replaced by an eerie calm. No prop wash, no engine vibration, just wind and silence. The Komet is no longer flying, it's coasting, a bullet that's already been fired. Andreas steadies the controls and lets his eyes adjust to the thin blue horizon. This machine was built for one purpose: get up fast, hit hard, and disappear before anyone can react. There will be no turning fight, no second pass, unless everything goes perfectly. Below him, far beneath the nose, the bomber stream continues its steady march, oblivious. Andreas feels it now, the imbalance. The Komet has given him impossible speed, but it has also boxed him into a corner. The clock is ticking, loud enough to hear even in the silence. If he hesitates, the mission is over. If he commits, there may be no way back. The horizon shouldn't look like this. Andreas scans left, then right, and the view refuses to end. The bomber stream stretches for miles, layer after layer, silver shapes locked into formation like a moving city in the sky. 900 B-17 seconds hold the center, their wings steady, bomb bay doors sealed for now. Around them, more than 1,000 escorts weave and patrol, engines humming with patience. This isn't a raid. It's an operation built to absorb losses and keep moving. Andreas feels suddenly small, a single pilot balanced on a few minutes of fuel, staring at a machine designed to keep flying no matter what breaks. There's no dramatic music up here, no warning, just the slow, unstoppable advance of mass and momentum. The bombers don't react to him. They don't need to. At this altitude, at this scale, individual threats barely register. Andreas understands the math instantly. Even if he does everything right, even if his shots land perfectly, the formation will keep going. Fuel plants will burn, smoke will rise. The war will continue without noticing his effort. He tightens his grip on the stick. The Komet trembles, impatient, like it wants to fall. Below him, the bombers slide closer, growing larger by the second. This is the last moment of stillness he will get. Once he dives, there will be no adjustments, no corrections, just speed, violence, and whatever outcome the next few seconds decide. Andreas tips the nose down. Gravity takes over instantly. The The Komet doesn't dive so much as fall, accelerating with a violence no piston engine could ever match. The bomber formation swells in his windscreen, growing from shapes into targets in a heartbeat. The closing speed is unreal. At nearly 600 miles per hour, the B-17 seconds look frozen, as if the entire formation has stopped moving and he's the only thing still alive. There is no time to line up carefully, no second to hesitate. This pass will last only a few seconds, and every mistake will be final. He squeezes the trigger. The twin 30mm cannons erupt, their recoil shuddering through the airframe. Bright shells streak forward and slam into the bomber's wing, tearing metal, punching holes, spraying fragments into the slipstream. The distance collapses too fast to watch the damage properly. Tracers flash past his canopy as defensive guns wake up all around him. Andreas pushes through the fire, slipping beneath the formation before the gunners can fully track him. In an instant, he's gone, falling away under the bombers, alive by inches. But above him, the formation keeps moving. Bomb bay doors yawn open, dark and mechanical, and the payload begins to drop. Andreas looks back and knows the truth. He hit them hard, and it wasn't enough. Andreas still has fuel. Not much, but enough for one more chance. The wounded bombers lag behind the formation, stragglers bleeding speed and altitude, perfect targets. He eases the Komet beneath them, throttling back to conserve what little remains. The engines above rumble like distant thunder, massive shapes drifting overhead as he slides into position. For a moment, the world narrows to geometry and timing. Then he slams the throttle forward. The rocket detonates behind him, hurling the Komet upward like a kicked stone. The acceleration is savage, snapping his head back as speed surges towards 600 miles per hour. He pulls up into the bomber's belly, crosshairs racing across aluminum skin. The bull turret swivels. The gunner sees him. Muzzle flashes erupt, twin, 50 caliber streams clawing toward the nose. Andreas fires again. One cannon jams instantly, dead weight. The other keeps hammering, shells tearing into the underside of the B-17 as bullets scream past his canopy. Then something hits. The canopy explodes inward. Pain flashes above his left eye as shrapnel slices through the cockpit. A split second later, the nightmare follows. A round punches through the armor plate and into the fuel tank behind him. Andreas knows what that means. The most dangerous part of his aircraft has just been breached. Speed, skill, and luck evaporate in an instant. Now, there is only one question left. How long before the Komet turns into a fireball? Andreas breaks away hard, diving beneath the formation, trying to outrun the disaster he's carrying inside his own aircraft. Tracers snap past, but he's moving too fast, slipping out of reach in seconds. The Komet screams downward, and Andreas knows he has to get out. Now, he reaches for the canopy release. Nothing happens. The wind pins it shut like a welded lid. He shoves again, teeth clenched, arms straining, the slipstream refusing to let him escape. Somewhere behind him, the fuel burns hotter. He senses it before he sees it. A shadow slides into position. A P-51 Mustang drops in from above, clean, controlled, patient. Andreas snaps back to the controls and pushes the nose down, trying to dive away as 6 50 caliber machine guns open up. The Mustang roars past, then arcs around with practiced ease. Andreas slams the throttle forward out of instinct. There is no response. The engine is dead. The Komet is now just a falling object. The Mustang turns back. Andreas tries the canopy again. Still stuck. He looks over his shoulder and sees the guns lining up. Perfectly calm, perfectly lethal. Panels tear away. Bullets punch through the airframe. Flames lick across the underside. Andreas flips the aircraft inverted and dives harder, gambling everything on speed alone. It's the last card he has left to play. While Andreas fights to outrun death, another Komet cuts in from above. Oberfeldwebel Jakob Bollenrath dives on the bombers, his cannons flashing as shells rake across the top of a flying fortress. He pulls away cleanly, conserving fuel, already thinking about his next pass. He never sees the Mustang waiting for him. Captain Louis Norley pushes the throttle forward and closes fast, the P-51 steady and precise. Tracers streak past Bollenrath's canopy. He jerks the Komet into a hard turn, dumping speed to spoil the Mustang's aim, forcing the fighter to overshoot. For a heartbeat, it works. Norley anticipates the move. He holds the lead, squeezes the trigger, and 50 caliber rounds arc into the Komet's tail. The aircraft shudders violently. Alarms scream. Bollenrath ducks instinctively as the Mustang flashes overhead. This is his moment. He rolls away and slams the throttle forward, desperate to escape. Instead of thrust, an explosion rocks the fuselage. The engine seizes. Silence crashes in. The Mustang turns back. Bollenrath tries to restart the rocket, hands flying across the controls, willing the machine to live. Nothing answers. Norley fires again. Bullets tear from tail to cockpit, flames bursting through shattered panels. The Komet rolls, burning, out of control. There is no bailout, no second chance. Bollenrath's aircraft plunges toward the ground, carrying him with it. In the sky above, the fight continues, indifferent to the loss. Andreas is still alive, but the fire is winning. Heat bleeds through the seat, creeping up his spine as flames lick along the Komet's underside. He hammers the canopy again, panic threatening to take over, and it slams shut once more. Then it hits him. It isn't jammed. It's the wind. The speed is holding it closed. With no engine left, he has one option. Andreas hauls back on the stick, bleeding speed in a brutal pull that feels like tearing the wings off the aircraft. The Komet shudders. The flames surge. He reaches again. This time, the canopy swings free. Air rushes in. Andreas doesn't hesitate. He throws himself clear as the burning aircraft drops away beneath him. The parachute snaps open hard, yanking him upright. Below, the Komet dives, still on fire, disappearing into the earth in a flash of smoke and flame. Andreas hangs in the cold air, alive, shaking, knowing how close he came to dying inside his own machine. Jakob Bollenrath never made it out of his aircraft. Gunther Andreas did. The difference wasn't bravery or skill. It was timing, physics, and a decision made in the last possible second. On that day, the fastest aircraft ever flown in combat didn't change the war. The bombers still hit their targets. The sky stayed hostile. Speed promised control, but delivered limits instead. This story isn't about technology failing. It's about the danger of believing that extreme solutions can replace sustainable ones. In war, in work, in life, going faster doesn't always mean going farther. Sometimes it just brings you closer to the edge. Andreas survived by understanding when to slow down. Bollenrath didn't get that chance. That's the uncomfortable truth history leaves us with. If this story made you think, share it. If it held your attention, like the video. And if you want more stories about pressure, limits, and survival when everything is on the line, subscribe.